In today's video, I'm going to talk about one of the most important things when it comes to growing and scaling an e-commerce brands, and that is learnings, okay? I'm going to talk about how my clients and also other brands out there are scaling over $50,000 per day consistently by implementing learnings, okay? Before we get into the video, I have a lot of things to show you. I'm actually going to bring you through learnings myself of winning ads, of failed ads, and kind of like give you an overview how these things actually work together. But before we get into the video, this is just one of our own clients, just so you have an understanding of the type of caliber of clients and data that we have access to on a daily basis. They did over $49,000 just yesterday alone. Okay, now that we got the proof out of the way, let's get right into the video. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down an ad from Everyday Dose. This ad, I'm going to show you how, Everyday Dose is a, multi 8-figure company. They're doing quite well. And so I'm going to show you how I found the ad and how I'm analyzing the ad along with learnings, notes, and observations, which is by far one of the most important things when understanding why things work. Before we get into that, let me just show you very quickly one thing, introduce one very important concept, and it's the winning foundations. I need you to understand one simple thing. When it comes to launching ads, there's two aspects, right? You launch an ad and you have a winner, and you launch an ad and you have a failed ad. It doesn't work, it doesn't scale, it doesn't spend, whatever that is. You have to be able to analyze both things, but when you hit a winner, you better understand exactly what made that winner a winner and start writing observations. So this, let me just read what I wrote over here. Studying winning foundations that make a winner is one of the most, right, important and profitable activities that you should be doing within your business, right? If we can clearly specify or observe elements within profitable videos, then we have a much higher likelihood of success. I'm not able to write here. I'm not sure there's so many typos, but you get the point. And so if we actually understand them, then we're able to understand why they work and be able to replicate them. So what I have here, an example of, like, imagine these are all winning videos. I want you, and this is what we do, and also what 8-figure, 9-figure giants do out there, is that they start writing observations on why these specific ads work. These are just some examples. 3-second frame by frame. So we observed that within all these videos, there's always a consistent 3 seconds between one frame and another. So it's an editing style. Another example is that the majority of the videos were maybe girlfriend, boyfriend angle, right? An observation to make. Maybe this is the angle that just, not maybe, for sure, that resonates the most with the audience. Another observation, as an example, right, shows instant proof in the hook. So the hook, in most cases, is represented by proof, right? Another example is that hook has bold text on the top, which clearly states a desire or a problem, right? And you can read these on your own, Once again here, video subtitles are simple and easy to read. Most winners mention X as a common failed solution, right? The hook are typically very impactful and satisfying to watch. All of these are observations that you should be taking. So instead of just ranting about examples, I'm going to show you an ad that absolutely killed it, that was launched in November 4th, and today is, November 17th. And it's still active and it has a bunch of engagement, as you can see over here. What I'm going to do is break down this ad and tell you why it's a winner, and also just write observations down so that we can then later kind of compare it to what I created here, kind of like a failed ad, okay, just to compare with it. And most ads that you're going to launch on your ad account are going to be fail, meaning that they're not going to spend, they're not going to be profitable. So this is a perfect example. Then I'm also going to show you how I put these into a sheet to make everything super, super clear. Okay, so let me show you how I found this ad first, which is very important. I like to use a tool called Iterating to find brands, and then I like to use a tool called AdSpy to actually verify that certain ads are spending. Because if we just use Iterating, there's no social proof here. So I could be filtering my longest running ads that are active, but this, from what I could know, is an ad that has been running since September, right? Which is, a couple months, whatever, September, October, November. But it maybe spent only, $300 or $1,000 just because it's active on the ad account. So what I need is validation. Once I found the brand that I want to funnel hack, and this is typically, right, a competitor that is direct, or a competitor that is indirect, that shares the same audience, meaning that if I'm selling to 30-year-olds with back pain, at least I'm going after and studying a brand that is selling to that similar audience or same audience. So I went here, I typed in Everyday Dose as a filter, as you can see over here. I also filtered by likes. You can filter by likes, by shares, whatever you want. And so I did not study these ads that have a bunch of engagement just because they are very, very top of funnel and middle of funnel. They're basically assuming that everybody already knows. They're introducing like this free product that people get when they buy the full offer of their coffee. And so I decided not to do them. But then I stumbled across this video that has a bunch of likes, right? It was launched November 3rd or 4th, and it still seems to be active, right? And so this is the ad that I found. Okay, I'm going to show you the ad first, and then we can break it down.
coffee. You have your caffeine, L-theanine. If you need caffeine to function, take L-theanine. Carry too much weight in your midsection, take chaga. Can't stop eating junk, take lion's mane. And if your skin won't clear up, take collagen. This is what your gut looks like, and most people will spend hundreds of dollars on supplements to fix it. Let's forget about that, because now you can get those same benefits from 1 cup of coffee. You have your caffeine, L-theanine, chaga, lion's mane, and collagen all in 1 scoop. Not only is this sugar-free, but it's gluten-free, non-GMO, and made with clinically studied ingredients. Normally, this would cost you $45 for 1 bag, but now you can get this entire bundle for just $25. So if your gut looks like this and you don't want to spend money on this, I'll drop a link for this deal below, but grab it now, because once you scroll, you can never get this deal again.
Okay, so this is an example of very, very good ad. It seems to be still active. I mean, if it's not active, it's still, I mean, this is the proof that you need, right? 10,000 likes, a lot of comments, most shares, right? So I would, as I was reading through the comments, I did notice that, some of these comments were customers, right? I love Everyday Dose, of course, this is a customer, right? All these comments, but a lot of them were also just asking questions about the product, and, we can go through the analysis in just a second, but I chose this because, the hook, let's just go over the hook very quickly.
If you need caffeine to function, take L-theanine. Carry too much weight in your midsection, take chaga. Can't stop eating junk, take lion's.
Right. It's not really introducing the product, it's talking about what you need, the problems, and then it introduces the fact that you need supplements, and a lot of supplements, and very expensive supplements, and then it introduces the product later, right? So once again, I'm going to show you exactly what's into this, but once again, you find the brand in Ahrefs, validate the success of a particular ad in AdSpy, and then you can just study it and have a green light. I like to do this, and I did this as example, because if you don't have a winning ad yet, you can just find inspiration or find an example of a winning ad that you can start studying and doing learnings for, okay? Let me just bring you through some learnings that I did and why it's a winner. So first of all, why it's a winner. Launched November 5th, and it's still active today, and it has a lot of engagement for such few days. Most likely took all the majority of the spend or a big portion of the spend. Okay, we can make these assumptions because this has a lot of engagement. It's been active for a while, and the proof is literally in front of us. Okay, and so now that we identify that this is a winner, let's start doing some learnings and then go from there. Let me just do one learning at a time. So these are some learnings, and this is a real life example of how I would do learnings. Maybe my team does it a little bit different, probably better, but this is at least the high level foundation of how I would do a learnings on a video. So first of all, I like to break it down by steps, right? Hooks. Hook is the first thing, and probably one of the most important things. So observation of the hook is, if you need caffeine to function, take X. So they're basically implementing this need X, get Y element. It's like an element, right? Do you need this to function, or are you taking this to function? If so, get Y. And so this element, it seems to be working for them. I'm not sure exactly what their hook rate is, right? Unfortunately, this is not an ad that we have in our ad account. So if you do have an ad that is a winner in your ad account, of course, you're going to have more data, right? But if you don't, regardless of if you have it or not, I would still, do learnings on these types of ads. So need X, get Y element in the hook with 3 different pain points. What were the 3 different pain points? It was energy, caffeine, or sweets like sugar, and having cravings on sugar, and something else, I forgot what it was. But I basically would write them down over here. And another element that I noticed is that it's clearly saying your gut. This is the first thing that kind of pops out in the hook. And so your gut, arrow in the hook to make it very clear. And, we can clearly see it within the ad, as we can see over here.
And if your skin won't caffeine to function, take...
Right? This is a very, the most prominent thing that you probably see in the hook. Okay, so these are just, once again, observations. I'm not saying that this element breaks or makes the ad. Maybe it does, who knows? But what we're trying to do is make, data-driven analysis here. Hypothesis, right? So let me just continue with the analysis. The entirety of the video, and there's going to be some typos here, so bear with me. The entirety of the video is show, don't tell. It's effective as they are showing what the gut actually looks like after all of the things mentioned, caffeine, junk, etc. So you're not just saying something, you're literally showing them by showing them elements of like literally a bucket that looks extremely gross, which consists of what people are taking in their body, their gut, and then exactly how much medicine they need or supplements they need or whatever it is they're getting that they need to fix their gut, which is numerous and expensive, and that's what they say later on. Okay, so it's also showing how many pills and supplements, as I said, people need to get rid of the problems and the habits that they just mentioned, right? Let me just play this part of the video so you know and understand what I mean by that. So they're saying you do.
If you need caffeine to function, take L-theanine. Carry too much weight in your midsection, take chaga. Can't stop eating junk, take lion's mane. And if your skin won't clear up, take collagen. This is what your gut looks like, and most people will spend hundreds of dollars on.
So this is show don't tell kind of framework, which I think is really, really effective. It's way easier to follow an example or a video or a claim, any type of claim, if you actually show them a demo or show them an example so they visually understand it, right? People assume imagery more than they kind of like, not assume, but how do you say, what's the term? They essentially understand imagery more than just words and listening to audio. So this is a very important element, right? And I made some observations on this. So one other thing is that they mention how expensive it is, like hundreds of dollars, quote unquote, and it's it is to support all these supplements. As I said before, they're also claiming, other than showing and not telling, they're also showing the money and how expensive it is to have all those supplements to solve their sugar problems, cravings, caffeine cravings, and all that stuff. Then it says, now you can get the same benefit in one cup of coffee. And so it provides a simplified, cost-effective solution, right? And so it's basically putting all the problems. This is what you get. These are this is what you need to solve what you get, and this is essentially how much it's costing you. You don't need all of that. You need everything, because everything is in one simple cup of coffee, right? So I like how this is being framed very effectively. And so the video also mentions the healthy ingredients of the coffee, and also what unhealthy ingredients it does not have, like sugar, for example, or that it's non-GMO and stuff like that. Let me just show you that part.
On supplements to fix it. Let's forget about that, because now you can get those same benefits from one cup of coffee. You have your caffeine, L-theanine, chaga.
Caffeine, L-theanine, chaga, all these things are essentially the product specs.
Lion's mane and collagen all in one scoop. Not only is this sugar-free, but it's gluten-free,
sugar-free, gluten-free,
non-GMO, and made with clinically studied ingredients. Normally, this would cost you
etc. And so now they're getting to the portion of the offer, which was my next point over here. The offer is being presented at 75% of the video, 50% off, and the ending call to action is, so if your gut looks like this and you don't want to spend this amount, then get this. It's very, once again, visually very easy to understand. And the urgency is like, they have urgency and scarcity, saying claiming that, this is the only place where they can get it, so they have to click on the deal right now. So all of these are just very, interesting observations that I think are just making or breaking the video, right? So let me just show you that part just to end it off.
$45 for one bag, but now you can get this entire bundle for just $25. So if your gut looks like this,
once again, looks like this, gross,
and you don't want to spend money on this, I'll drop a link for this deal below, but grab it now, because once you scroll, you can never get this deal again. If you need caffeine.
Yeah, so this is just a good video. I'm not surprised that it has this engagement and scaling, and this is probably going to stay active for more. So let's go back to over here. There is one other thing that I like to do when I analyze these videos, once again, whether it's my own videos of my own clients or the brand, like our own, the videos that are launched and winners, or whether I like to do it for a competitor that is indirect or direct. I like to read comments. So if there's one observation that I made over here, is that a lot of people were requesting questions about tastes. How does it taste? How good is it? How bad is it? Whatever, because then, that is obviously an objection. In fact, if you can take a look at it here, what does the taste, what does this taste like? Or what does it taste like? Is it sweet? Or what does it taste like? Again, just same exact question. What does it taste like? Same exact questions, different people. What does it taste like? I can't force down something that tastes so bad, no matter how good it is for me. So, I mean, once again, these are all like claims, and there's like maybe 10 or 15 other more claims like this that and probably even more that I didn't even catch out of like 400 or 500 comments. So it's definitely like something that is bringing that people are bringing it up. And so the hypothesis here is a common question about taste. Maybe we could it could be worth mentioning something about taste within the video, or maybe having the creator like doing a very, very pleasing face when they're testing the flavor, right? And so these are all like elements that can improve this iteration if we iterate on this concept or this style of video with these observations, okay? Hopefully you got some value out of this, right? If once again, how can we do learnings? You can do that in two ways. You can do it with your own ads, right? Where you have a bit more data or a lot more data. So cost per click, click-through rate, CTR, hold rate, hook rate, all these things. Or you can do it with indirect or direct competitors. Indirect competitors just probably means that's something that is a shared audience, right? We need to at least have the same shared audience, or else it's kind of like swinging too far away. You can still take inspiration when it comes to concepts, but if you want to just break down like a winner, I would probably do it with direct or indirect competitors. Okay, now let's take an example of a loser so that we can take kind of like do a comparison of, okay, we broke down a winner. Now that I got a loser on the ad account, which is most likely that I'm going to get, because most of the ads that we're going to launch are going to be losers, probably like 80, 90, maybe in some people even 99% of the time. So let's break down a loser and kind of like pretend that this is an ad of the same brand, like so coffee, right? So let's take as an example, there's two things that I want to do when I receive a failed ad. Whether it's a failed ad or as a winning ad, I want to record results. What were the results like? And learnings. And by the way, I like to have everything into a demo command center where every concept we launch literally goes in here, so that it's very clear on, what the angle is, the marketing angle, the awareness stage, the avatar, etc. And then I have like 3 columns. One is for the hypothesis, which is where you guys need to fill it up before you launch the ad in the ad account. And then we have 2 other columns, which is for the later, after you receive data from the test. The results, so the ROAS, the spend, and the learnings, okay, so that we can have better tests moving forward. Very, very important components. You can get the sheet. I think it's a 3rd or 4th link down below. It's completely free. Just use it, because this is one of the most important things, is tracking your creative efficiency or inefficiency to make it better and increase your hit rate. Because then, a lot of people just scale. I have some clients that came to us where they were like doing 30, 40, 50 concepts a week. And then I asked them, what is your hit rate? It must be amazing if you're scaling. And they're like, oh no, it's like below 1% or 2%. That is just not the best way to do it, in my opinion. You should have a good hit rate on your ads. And once you do, you can start scaling later, right? And as soon as your hit rate starts to go down, you take a step back. Okay, so this is what I would do. Let's go over this example of a loser. Results: spend over $150 in the 7-day window, which isn't a lot. It's going to be dependent on your scale and how much you're spending. But even if you're spending like $600, $700, $800 a day in spend, $150 for the week isn't much, right? It's not getting a lot of spend. So the results were not the worst, as it did get some spend, right? There's even worse where it gets like $1 spend. And the ROAS was just 2x, which is actually good, not just. It was just like a good ROAS for the ad account. Okay, learnings, hook rate, and this is kind of like an hypothesis. So what I need you to understand is understand the way that I'm thinking when it comes to like analyzing a loser and comparing it to a winner, right? Hook rate was 20%. If the hook rate is 20%, we have to ask ourselves why, and write it down. And the first observation could have been that it's quite boring, it's not very visually interesting or engaging, similar or engaging like the other winner that we just analyzed. The other winner was like very visually like engaging. It touched based on like really interesting topics, and it was like just visual. It was like show don't tell, right? And so this hook maybe wasn't, and that's why it sucks, right? A good hook is like 50%, 60%. If you have like 50, 60% hooks, you can do quite well. CTR was above 1.7, which is good, above average, could prove that the caffeine angle is really resonating. And so, I just put this caffeine angle as an example, but if this was the caffeine angle, and then we also maybe notice that the caffeine angle is just really working better than other accounts, than other ads, then maybe this is worth mentioning. If something is working, even if it's a failed ad, if you have a metric that's giving you good success rates, good numbers, good KPIs, then note it down. For example, this one. This, CTR is like ad relevance and how interested people are at engaging with your ad. So long story short, if you're saying something or if you're talking about a topic that people are interested in, of course, CTR is higher. Hold rate was 35%, definitely room for improvement, but not too bad. I didn't comment on this too much. General observations about this failed ad was that, it was a caffeine angle, the hook was boring, the pace of the video was a bit slow paced compared to winners, which was a bit faster paced. And I'm comparing it, for example, to this video. Once again, that was pretty fast paced.
Caffeine to function, take L-theanine. Carry too much weight in your midsection, take chaga.
You see, it's kind of like very fast paced. And I'm not surprised because the usual demographic for this is like 20 to like 35, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so it makes sense that it's a bit more fast paced with these types of videos. And so this was a long form video. The failed ad was more than 4 minutes long. The longer videos haven't giving us great results. This is just an observation that I wanted to make. Assuming this was maybe a VSL that's 4 minutes long, and they're not literally all VSLs and all 4-minute videos that are long, all videos that are 4 minutes long are just not working. This could be maybe an issue with the formatting because it's too long and people don't care, especially if I'm like selling a coffee or something like that. And so next steps, these could be potential next steps, right? We should try to recreate a better hook as a next test. Recreating a hook is like the fastest and most effective thing you can do. And so if we bring the hook to 50%, it could get spend as there's some decent traction in the results, meaning that it did get some spend and it did get a profitable ROAS, 2x, which is good. And so there are some components of this ad that are giving like some good direction. And then another example is I want to test a more show don't tell approach similar to our winner. And so what I'm doing here once again is I'm kind of like comparing, and I show this here. Where is it? I'm comparing kind of like failed ads with like winners, or not necessarily like black and white, like what did the winner do visually and what did the loser do visually, but more like observations. The winner had these elements and the loser had these elements. This is a great way to start making observations and learnings, right? And so this is the end of the video, guys. I just wanted to bring you through this process. I know that it was maybe a bit more of a less dynamic video, but if you add learnings and this process within your business, you will always understand, or you're basically 100 steps ahead of the competition, because most people don't actually take the time to go in here and write their learnings down and do hypotheses, right? They don't do all of these things. They don't even track their hit rate. They don't track anything. So if you can take, 10, 15 more minutes, right? Probably do this once a day. You spend 30 minutes every single day analyzing and studying and reviewing your ads that you launch on a weekly basis, right? Your ads are going to be more effective in the future. Even if your claims and your hypothesis and what you think, right, your observation, even if they're not all right and correct, at least you're making educated decisions, right? We're not robots. I'm definitely not like, a genius here. I'm just a person that is taking the time, not reinventing the wheel, just taking the time, taking a step back and trying to understand why certain things are giving good results and why certain things are just not giving results at all. At the end of the day, we're studying people. Okay, we're not studying like these weird and strange creatures. We're studying people just like us, and we have to like recognize patterns. That's all it is. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope this video was valuable. If you are a brand doing at least $100,000 a month, whether you're doing 100K, 500K, 2 million a month, whatever it is, we have experience working with 8-figure businesses. If you want to scale to the next level and explore the opportunity of doing business with us and growing as growth partners, you know what to do. You can click the link below and book in a call, and then we can take it from there. That is it for this video, and see you in the next one. Bye.